It's Thursday, November 27th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Ottawa announces tariff aid for lumber companies, so why don't they want it? Nova Scotia decides it's going to sell off its stockpile of American liquor.
And temperatures turn chilly moving into the weekend, plus there's a potential for a snowfall next week.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. The maritime lumber industry is reacting to Ottawa's newly announced aid package. It offers more than $1 billion to help companies struggling with American tariffs. But as CTV's Laura Brown reports, there's fear it will cause more problems than it solves.
Linda Bell says subsidies is what got the lumber industry into hot water with the United States in the first place.
The U.S. Lumber Coalition has complained that the lumber in Canada is subsidized. And instead of fixing that problem, it just seems like they turn to more subsidies, which is only going to make it worse.
Which is why she doesn't believe the $500 million federal loans announced yesterday by Prime Minister Mark Carney are the way forward. Neither are the subsidies for railway companies to transport Canadian lumber across the country.
That comes into our markets, and we don't even have access to rail.
The industry has been battling a 45% tariff imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. She says what needs to happen is a deal. And Natural Resources Minister John Herron has said the same.
Clearly, this is not a sustainable model over a period going forward. We need a negotiated settlement.
Bell says cracks are starting to show in the industry. Woodland Pulp in Maine announced the mill would be pausing operations from late November until December 17th, laying off 144 workers temporarily. Bell says losing that market has been a challenge, and now, she says, they're hearing of more closures.
This week, I guess, we first learned that MLM Chipping, which does the chipping of our pulpwood for Twin Rivers and Edmundston, was closing. And then we heard yesterday that Twin Rivers is closing until further notice. So that's our pulp market is gone with that, because that was really our only option.
CTV News has reached out to Twin Rivers Paper Company asking about the status of its operations in Edmundston, but has yet to hear back. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Kentucky bourbon, California wine, and other American booze is returning to Nova Scotia liquor stores. For a while, anyway. The province has decided to sell off its stockpile of U.S. products. And as CTV's Jonathan McGuinness tells us, there's a plan for the profits.
Empty shelves will soon be filled again with American bottles. With $14 million worth of U.S. alcohol sitting in storage, the Nova Scotia government has decided to sell.
There's no profit to be had for the province of Nova Scotia in selling this at this point in time. This is like we want to get rid of it.
The net profit will be going to Feed Nova Scotia and other community food organizations, a total that could reach $4 million.
Well, I think it makes sense.
Nova Scotia yanked everything from the States in early March. The move came in response to tariffs levied by President Donald Trump. Premier Tim Houston says with talks ongoing between the two countries, selling the American alcohol could be seen as a gesture of goodwill.
The booze issue turns out is a pretty thorny issue at that table. It matters to a lot of Americans and American companies.
Earlier this month, New Brunswick also announced they would be selling off their American alcohol. U.S. booze will be back on the shelves here in Nova Scotia starting on Monday.
The majority of our U.S. products that we have are mainly whiskey, bourbon, and U.S. wine products.
Getting those items back on shelves could take a bit of time.
As we have product all across the province, some stores have it at their locations, while other stores, due to capacity and storage, had to ship it back to our distribution center. And so they are waiting for their product to come back to them.
Once the existing American booze is gone, there are no plans to bring any more in. That's a decision for the province to make. And Todd Tara McKinnon says the NSLC has about 600,000 bottles of alcohol to be redistributed, and that will take time. She asked that any customers who have specific requests maybe call ahead to see if that item is actually back on the shelves. Todd.
Probably a pretty good idea. We'll see if there's lineups Monday morning. Thanks, John, at the liquor store. All right. Tonight's CTV web poll, we're asking, do you think provincial liquor stores should sell off any remaining U.S. products? Your options are yes, it's already been purchased, so why not? Or no, it's the principle of the thing. We would like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Halifax police have named a man who died after he was found suffering injuries on Gottingen Street yesterday. An autopsy has identified the victim as 59-year-old Troy Clayton. Police were called to Gottingen Street between North and Kennard just after 11 yesterday morning, where officers found a badly injured man. Clayton was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The Supreme Court of Canada has sent a murder case back to the Nova Scotia Court of Appeal in light of potential new evidence. A decade ago, a jury found Nathan Johnson guilty of first-degree murder and illegal possession of a firearm in the 2010 shooting death of pizza delivery worker Chad Smith. He was sentenced to life in prison, but Johnson argued the October 2023 acquittal of his one-time co-accused at the retrial brought into serious question the credibility of two Crown witnesses against him at his own trial. The Nova Scotia Court of Appeal had dismissed Johnson's appeal in 2017, but now the case is being returned to the lower court. And online, a St. John police detective constable has been charged with breach of public trust. And you can read the details about that at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Overdoses in Fredericton have more than tripled in just 2 years. The city's police chief revealed the startling number today at a public safety committee hearing. And as CTV's Avery McRae tells us, it wasn't the only headline grabber.
162. That's how many overdose calls Fredericton police alone have responded to through the first 10 months of 2025, which have resulted in 9 deaths.
It's an important distinction to say that no one area is immune to what's taking place, and yet at the same time, no one area is I think, the predominant issue.
The numbers are triple what they were just 2 years ago. It's not just overdose calls that are up, as the amount of drugs on Fredericton streets has also ballooned. The lone drug to see a decrease in seizures is cocaine, with a drop of over 550 grams seized year over year. The same can't be said for methamphetamine, which has more than doubled from 1,214 grams in 2024 to 2,910 grams so far this year. Fentanyl is also on the rise, with nearly 200 more grams seized this year with 834, marking the first time fentanyl seizures have outpaced cocaine in the capital. Now there is a more powerful strain making its way onto the Fredericton streets.
This morning, I received information that a number of our reports, our drug seized that we sent away for analysis, has come back that 2 matters at minimum have come back showing carfentanil as the product.
Chief Forward also pointed out many drugs on the streets, even marijuana, are a mix of a number of substances which is contributing to the overdose rise. It has city councillors pointing the finger at Ottawa.
I think they're probably hearing a lot of that from communities right across the country. We've been crying for help. You know, we've got to stop that flow of that stuff. We got to get tougher on those individuals.
Now, as for where these drugs are coming from, Todd, Chief Forward did note that organized crime is playing a factor, but would not comment further, nor on where these drugs are originating from. Todd?
Avery McRae in our Fredericton studio this evening. There's a live look at downtown Halifax right now. Currently 7 degrees, but it's going to feel a whole lot chillier. Kaylin Mitchell, their first look at the forecast.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we did have some milder temperatures over the last couple of days and nights for parts of the Maritime, so we got into a southwest wind as that weather front came in that brought the region a mixture of some rain, drizzle, and fog. But we're getting in behind that now, and the wind direction is becoming more westerly, and that's going to start to bring in some colder air that's in place over parts of the continent. As we make our way through this evening and tonight, then partly cloudy skies with temperatures becoming chilly. We're still generally under the influence of this very large sprawling area of low pressure that not only brought us was rain here in the Maritimes, but winter storm conditions for parts of northern Ontario and heavy snow for areas of Quebec, and now has triggered quite an active snow squall situation in parts of southern Ontario. And this is happening as very cold air is moving in over the relatively warmer lake waters. And look at those snow squalls coming in right now into locations like Goderich, up towards Stratford, London on the southern edge of those intense snow squalls. Some of the warnings are calling for some snowfall amounts here into the weekend of up to around 70 centimeters for some areas. We can actually see a similar situation here in the Maritimes when we get very cold air that moves in over the Gulf of St. Lawrence, Northumberland Strait, and the Bay of Fundy. Instead of lake effect snow, that would be our ocean or sea effect snow. Taking a look then at what we can expect for the cloud cover. As I mentioned, partly cloudy conditions as we head through this evening and tonight around the Maritimes, which doesn't make for a perfect night for some night sky viewing. But if you're going to go out there and you're going to look for the gaps in the clouds, a couple things you can see is a waxing crescent moon tonight, 44% illuminated. That'll be above the southern horizon this evening. If you find the moon, you can just look to the left of it and spot the planet Saturn, as well as the constellation Pisces. The aurora is unlikely to be observed tonight. There was a pass from the International Space Station right at the top of the hour. The next pass is tomorrow at 5:12 p.m. It's about 6 minutes long, and it'll be moving from the northwest to the east. When I come back, Todd, we're going to talk more about some colder air moving in place for the weekend and next week, and the potential maybe for a bigger snow event next week as well.
Did I hear you right? 70 centimeters in southern Ontario?
Well, you know that lake effect snow. It doesn't mess around once it gets going.
Boy, that is something. Okay, we will see you for that full forecast later. Thank you. The Nova Scotia government should apologize to Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian communities for a history of environmental racism. That's one of a list of recommendations from a panel tasked with looking into the harms caused by previous provincial decisions. The draft report details some of the history of environmental racism, including dumps and toxic waste areas, the relocation of Member 2 First Nation, and the destruction of Africville. It calls for a community-led body with decision-making powers that has a working relationship with the province. The government says racism is unacceptable, but stops short of committing to a formal apology.
This is serious business. I think the steps we have to take in terms of dealing with racism are something we have to hear from community, hear from the experts, and make sure we make the proper steps so we can move forward, as we're doing with the process we're going through at the current moment.
The report also calls for reparations to be made. The minister says a meeting with panelists is scheduled sometime before the holidays.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
At the one-year mark of his majority election win, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston told supporters last night he plans to run for a third term, even though an election is 3 years away. Today, the Premier, who's also the Energy Minister, told reporters he's not impressed with Nova Scotia Power's response to the cyber attack. He vows to hold the utility accountable and stand up to the company, but didn't say how. CTV's Callum Smith has more.
For Nova Scotia Power to appear before a committee and essentially shrug their shoulders and say, it'll be okay, we're going to take care of it, that's not good enough.
That legislative committee appearance came earlier this week when the utility's CEO and Director of Customer Care took questions from MLAs of all stripes, mostly regarding the cyber attack and subsequent estimated billing, leading some customers to be charged at least double their usage the year before. Houston's message to people:
we'll have their back on this. We'll make sure that we do what we can to hold Nova Scotia Power to account. And we'll use any measure on that. We've shown that we'll stand up to Nova Scotia Power, and we'll continue to do that.
Houston said he supports his MLA's suggestion of a fine with 6 zeros attached to it, and affirmed ratepayers wouldn't be responsible but could benefit from it by way of a rebate.
Returning it directly to them could be something. There'd be any number of outcomes here.
Opposition parties say people want clear action from the government.
I think for lots of reasons that make sense, the Premier wants to distance himself from that as much as possible, but it's theatrics. Not yesterday, not today, and probably not next week won't give us a solution as to what Nova Scotians can expect from this government.
He is now the energy minister, and I know firsthand that that relationship with Nova Scotia Power needs to be stern, and you need to really lay out on the table what the potential options are if Nova Scotia Power doesn't clean this up.
Houston says while cyber attacks are becoming more common, it's all about the response.
I don't think their response has shown the level of respect for the ratepayers of this province that it should.
The utility said all meters should be read and bills should be accurate by the end of March. Callum Smith, CTV News, Halifax.
We'll step aside for our first break tonight. Still to come, partly cloudy and chilly. Kayla Mitchell returns with the full forecast. But next, looking for home.
We're in a balanced market, which means there's opportunity for sellers, there's opportunity for buyers.
Some good news for house hunters in the Maritimes. I'll tell you about it after the break. If you're a home buying hopeful, this next story should offer some encouragement. The number of houses up for sale in October in New Brunswick hit a record high. As CTV's Derek Haggett tells us, more in the market could benefit buyers and sellers.
There's some positive news on the New Brunswick real estate front. A recent report from the Canadian Real Estate Association states October was a record month for the province. There were 1,345 new residential listings in October 2025. That's the largest number of new listings added in the month of October in history. New listings were 19.6% above the 5-year average. By the end of October, there were 3,516 active residential listings. Those numbers haven't been this high in the month of October in more than 5 years. So what does it all mean? One Moncton realtor says things can be a bit confusing right now because many homes are taking longer than expected to sell.
So things aren't going as fast as we might be used to, and that can feel like they're not happening at all. But that's actually inaccurate. Things are happening, they're just going slower.
Davison says it's a balanced market right now.
But if you watch national headlines, you might think we're in a buyer's market, and we're not. We're in a balanced market, which means there's opportunity for sellers, there's opportunity for buyers.
Moncton realtor Martin Gallant says if you're a buyer, it's great.
And if you're a seller, it's still a really good time. There's still buyers out there. Are you going to get that top dollar that your neighbor got 2 years ago? Maybe not, but it's still a really good time to make a move.
Things have cooled since the pandemic boom when the main driver of sales was buyers coming from Ontario and out west.
We're seeing more locals on contracts now, which is encouraging. Those people were priced out for a little bit.
Gallant predicts the market will stay balanced for the time being. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
All right, still to come, scattered showers, maybe a few flurries tomorrow. Kaylin is working out the details in the full maritime forecast. He'll have those for us next. That's the coast along Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia, and that is dark and stormy.
Yeah.
Maybe not stormy, but
certainly dark.
Yeah, it's got that look, eh? Speaking of stormy.
Aha.
Yes, I'm not going to let you get off that easily. Let's go back to what you were talking about in the first weather and the potential for very big snow. What, mostly we're talking Nova Scotia PEI?
Yeah, right now. We'll see if things change or evolve here over the next couple of days. It's already getting some chatter around our portion of the region, and for good reason. It does look like there is a very high potential of seeing a significant coastal storm develop around the eastern seaboard of the United States next week, and we may have some colder air in place, and when those two combinations come together, that's when we get the potential for a bigger snowfall.
Sure. I mean, we are still a few days out.
We are. So let's take a look at the setup and talk about what's going on. So this is going to be starting off down around Texas, a low pressure system developing and moving along the border of Texas and Louisiana, right around the Gulf states. But it is going to take a path that'll take it towards the eastern seaboard of the U.S. as we move into early Tuesday morning. Now, from there, as that low pressure system begins its climb up the eastern seaboard, you will notice it is capped a little bit on the northern side by an area of high pressure. It's not like the perfect textbook example of a nor'easter, but this type of weather system is going to undergo that sort of nor'easter type development as it comes up the eastern seaboard, including intensifying rapidly. And the reason for that is it's got a lot of fuel to work with. There's going to be some colder air in place over the continent. That's already in place for some areas. It's colder air that's driving those snow squalls right now in parts of the southern Ontario. And then, of course, the milder air and the moisture out over the Atlantic. And these weather systems, they kind of feed off of that difference between the colder air over the continent and the warmer air over the Atlantic. So that's going to pick up some strength as it moves past. The path for the Maritimes looks like it is going to hold south and east of Nova Scotia. And what that type of path does is it helps keep the colder air in place because the warmer, milder air doesn't push out all the cold air that's around. And that's usually when we get into a mixed precipitation event. So right now, if it holds to the south and east, it's got a higher potential of being a heavier snowfall event for areas in Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, maybe close to the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick. Now, there is still a lot of potential for change with this weather system, so let's talk a little bit more about that. This far out, there is a higher uncertainty in the details of the impacts of this type of weather system, i.e. how much snow is specifically going to fall where. Those numbers keep changing basically by a day-by-day basis. If there's a shift eastward with that low, that could lower the snow potential in the Maritimes. If there's a shift westward, that could bring in more of a mix, snow turning through rain, ice pellets, that type of thing, and maybe push some of the heavier snow towards areas of New Brunswick. But the bottom line is the dynamics right now are favorable for developing that coastal storm next week. It's been present in the forecast models over the last couple of days. If you were thinking about things you needed to get done before the first, significant snow of the year or of December, you might want to get that done this weekend. I don't know if it's making like the snow blower easily accessible or if you needed to get your tires changed over because that type of weather event, again, we're not going to talk about specific amounts right now, but it would be sort of a plowable, certainly a shovelable type of snow. Taking a look at our forecast timeline over the next 24 hours, though, weather conditions not too bad. Partly cloudy for tonight, and it's going to be chilly. It's going to be a chilly start to the day for tomorrow. We are going to see a scattered mix of some showers and flurries develop across the Maritimes, especially as we make our way into and through Friday afternoon. Winds for tomorrow will be out of the southwest. They're going to be sustained in a lot of cases between 20 and 30 kilometers per hour, with a few gusts getting up between 30 and 50, especially around coastal areas. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight around the region will be falling down into a range around 0 to 4 degrees for most of the Maritimes. Some areas in the north of New Brunswick falling a couple degrees below the freezing mark. In the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow, high temperatures between 1 and 5 degrees, with central and southern parts of the province with high temperatures between 3 and 6. For Prince Edward Island on Friday, high temperatures between 4 and 6 degrees. In Cape Breton for tomorrow, the high temperatures will be around 5 to 7 degrees, and a similar range of temperatures expected for the eastern shore and north shore of mainland Nova Scotia. Cumberland, Colchester, Hants counties, Halifax County for tomorrow. Lunenburg County, the high temperatures between 5 and 7. Near 5 degrees in the Annapolis Valley, 6 there for Digby, and high temperatures on the south shore and in the southwest of Nova Scotia, 6-7 degrees for most communities. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, so a little bit colder for the upcoming weekend. There may be a lighter mixture of some snow and rain coming in Sunday night into Monday. Possible snowfall accumulation in the northwest of the province. Chance of flurries after that, Monday and Tuesday. Snow possible for southern areas of New Brunswick on Wednesday. Cloudy periods for Thursday. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, temperatures turning chillier as we get into the upcoming weekend. Potential for some rain moving through Sunday night, followed by a chance of showers on Monday. And then watching that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame for that potential snow event. Cloudy periods for Thursday. And for Prince Edward Island, chilly temperatures ahead for the weekend. Snow turning over to rain possible as we make our way through Sunday night, followed by a chance of showers on Monday. And then watching for that snow late Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. Todd.
Hey, you don't think you'll get to use that new color-coded system already, do you?
I don't know yet. We'll have to see how things kind of evolve or set up as we make our way through the weekend, but we'll see how things are setting up.
All right, we'll watch for that. Thanks. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, CTV pollster Nick Nanos joins us with new numbers on how Canadians are feeling about the country and its leaders. And then it's our nightly look at entertainment news.
Hi, it's Katie Kelly. Your local entertainment fix is coming up. The stories everyone's talking about across the Maritimes. From big concerts to what's new on screen and stage. See you soon on The Scene.
Okay, so coming up 7:30 tomorrow, the What Now question of the day. Chance to win that $250 gift card to St. Louis Bar and Grill.
And Merry Texmas continues.
With that, you could win 2 passes to Neptune Theater. Good luck.
Welcome back on this Thursday night. We thought it's a good time to check in with CTV pollster Nick Nanos of Nanos Research. He joins us from his office in Ottawa. Always good to see you, Nick.
Good to see you too, Todd.
We're going to talk about who Canadians would like to have for Prime Minister. You've got some numbers on that. But first, I think we should talk about this energy bill that was just signed between Ottawa and Alberta today. You've done some polling on this. How do you think this is going to go down among Canadians?
Well, I think it's going to go down generally pretty positively. In a survey that we just released today with the University of Ottawa's Positive Energy Initiative, we asked Canadians about which sectors they thought that the country should be focusing on to kind of fix and enhance and make for more resilient trade. At the very top of the list, Todd, was energy. 37% of Canadians thought energy, followed by minerals at 25% and agri-food at 19%. So focus on energy as a strategy to help diversify our exports is at the top of the list for Canadians. And I think especially if you're out west, you probably quite like this deal if you happen to be in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I guess where the rubber hits the road will be in British Columbia, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, the thing is that, what's clear is that there's lots of appetite in Alberta and Saskatchewan for this, and even in Ontario. But, the thing is that BC, why don't we just call them the host province for a potential new pipeline? And I think navigating that is probably going to be more tricky than what was accomplished today.
Yeah. Any sense of who Canadians want to sell this energy to?
Yes, not the Americans. How's that? In the same survey for the university, we asked them, for energy exports, which regions or countries they wanted as the destination. At the top of the list was Europe at 35, followed by Asia at 24. Only 1 out of every 5 Canadians said they'd like to see these energy exports go to the U.S. So it's about going out of the country, 2 directions, east to Europe, west to Asia, as what Canadians at least feel would be the best priority in terms of energy exports.
Nick, we'll ask you about that Prime Minister poll in a moment, but interested in how Canadians feel about their own situation. We talked a bit about nationally, how they feel about things happening in the country, but when it comes to their own pocketbook, any sense of where we're going?
Yeah, we track that every week with Bloomberg News. It is sputtering and neutral, Todd. The thing is it's a bit like a holding pattern. People don't know whether things are going to be okay or whether they're going to be worse. And I think, the uncertainty related to the trade negotiations with Donald Trump has basically put a wet blanket on consumer sentiment right now.
Well, and on that, the government announced yesterday a whole lot of money, billions of dollars for a couple key sectors: steel, aluminum, softwood lumber, which is of particular importance in the Maritimes here in New Brunswick, especially. Is that going to help Canadians in those sectors perhaps feel a little more confident that they may be able to at least pay the bills?
Well, they'll probably feel a little more hopeful, but the question is, Todd, how long will it take for this spending to kick in terms of jobs and people's day-to-day lives? And I think for a lot of Canadians, a significant proportion, they're just worried about paying for the groceries this week or worried about paying for housing. So, they might feel good when they hear an announcement in terms of kind of lumber, steel, and so forth. But the big question is how long is it going to take before it actually has a materially positive impact on the day-to-day lives of Canadians? You know what? I think we'll have an election before that happens.
Okay. Well, Prime Minister Carney's first budget took that long view. It's a vision document, as he's called it. Not necessarily a lot there for people at the grocery store and whatnot. How was that received by Canadians generally?
Well, the budget, we didn't test on the budget itself, but when we look at 2 things, first of all, who Canadians would prefer as Prime Minister and also the ballot numbers, it suggests that, the budget was not bad for the Liberals. Actually, it wasn't even bad for the Conservatives because their numbers are generally flat. But, what we've seen at least is that the Liberals are kind of widening their advantage. It was a statistical tie, but the Liberals are widening their advantage. But on the preferred Prime Minister tracking, check it out. It's a 27-point advantage for Mark Carney.
Yeah.
He's actually up 3 points in the last 4 weeks. Pierre Poilievre's down 2, but that's within the margin of error, back at 26. But, what this speaks to the fact is that, Carney still has an advantage. And, Todd, those numbers in Atlantic, it's 56-21 in Atlantic Canada between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. So Carney's advantage in Atlantic Canada even bigger than it is nationally.
The NDP, a distant third here, but they've dropped even more.
Yeah, you know, the NDP are back in the double digits, which is bad news. I think what we're seeing is a situation where, for the Conservatives, their only path to victory is if somehow the NDP become more competitive. They need the progressive vote to split in order to pop up through the middle. And that's why with the Conservatives, you know, 37% is usually enough to win an election. Not in this scenario with the collapse of the NDP. So, you know, the thing is that, you know, for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, they've got to be looking at the NDP and thinking, what can they do to help the NDP attack the Liberals? What can they do to help the NDP kind of eat into some Liberal support, some of those progressives who might be unhappy or disenchanted, because they need that vote split terribly in order to win more seats and have those vote splits.
That 29% for Mr. Poilievre. What does that look like going into the party's review in the new year? Can he last with that number, 29% across the country?
Yeah, actually, I think he can. And, you know, because the thing is that, you know, the Conservatives are still at around 37%. What this means is that he is leading a movement that really is about change, about people that don't like the Liberals, think that they've been in power too long. I don't think they really care who the leader is. And the thing is there's no, what's the alternative to Pierre Poilievre? Like, people might gripe about him, but there's no alternative. Like, traditionally, you need someone to stab you in the back, or perhaps stab you in the back and stab you in the front in order for you to lose and be removed as leader. And, you know, right now, I don't think there's anyone really lining up to replace Pierre Poilievre. So I think as long as he has a solid number in the vote in January, he'll be the leader of the Conservatives, leading a movement that will want to get the Liberals out of power.
Nick, we're heading into the holiday season. I think people would like to think about, well, just about anything else other than politics. So we'll check in the new year. And once people are over the turkey and start thinking about politics again, and we'll see if those numbers shift at all. Thanks so much, as always, for your insight and your time.
Take it easy.
We'll take a break. We'll be back more with your local news. Time now for health headlines, and we look at the lawsuit alleging social media giants buried their own research on how harmful their platforms can be for teen mental health. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
Some of the biggest social media platforms are being accused of burying their own research on the harmful effect they have on teens' mental health. The allegations were made in a newly unsealed court filing in the U.S. Hundreds of individuals, school districts, and attorneys general from across the United States are suing Meta, Snap, TikTok, and Google, the parent company of YouTube. The complaint alleges the platforms are deliberately embedding design features to maximize youth engagement in order to increase revenue. The filing quotes the company's internal documents, which suggest they allegedly knew how addictive their platforms can be to teens. Spokespeople for Meta, TikTok, and Snap say the filing paints a misleading picture of their platforms and safety efforts. A highly anticipated trial to determine if an oral version of semaglutide could slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease has failed. That's according to drug maker Novo Nordisk. Semaglutide is the active ingredient in popular drugs Ozempic and Wegovy. Smaller trials and animal studies had suggested GLP-1s might help slow cognitive decline or reduce neuroinflammation. However, larger trials like this one were needed to confirm whether patients saw actual benefits. A pair of trials were conducted on more than 3,800 adults receiving normal care for Alzheimer's. Novo Nordisk said the drug did lead to improvements in Alzheimer's-related biomarkers, but did not delay progression of the disease. Finally, a new report from the Conference Board of Canada highlights growth in the Canadian beverage industry as consumer preferences shift toward health-conscious and non-alcoholic drinks. Households spent $12.5 billion on non-alcoholic beverages in 2024, though below the pandemic peak of over $13 billion. This sector contributed $5.8 billion to Canada's GDP and supported 45,000 full-time equivalent jobs. Consumers increasingly favor beverages with reduced sugar, organic certification, plant-based ingredients, or other health benefits. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
All right, we're on the scene with Katie Kellen. You told me you got so much stuff that I'm not allowed to chit-chat.
No, we have to roll.
We got
roll.
All right, so one of Canada's favorite rock bands marking a milestone.
Yes, Todd, and the Maritimes will be part of the celebration. Sam Roberts' band is bringing the 20th anniversary tour of their platinum album, Chemical City, to the Lighthouse Arts Centre on April 4th. Halifax is one of the 5 shows that's happening across the country where the band will perform the album start to finish. Tickets are on sale now, and I looked online, Todd. You're lucky if there's many left at all. So if you do want to go to this, like, basically log on immediately.
He's got lots of fans.
Yes.
A global music phenomenon. Returning to the region. They've been here before.
Yes, Grammy-nominated Irish ensemble Celtic Woman is back with a brand new tour, a new era, marking 2 stops, and they're making rather 2 stops in the Maritimes next spring. They'll perform at Casino New Brunswick in Moncton on April 29th and at the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax on April 30th. Tickets are on sale now.
Very good. And one of the hottest summer traditions in Nova Scotia is coming back, 2026.
Yes, Matt Mays is returning to the legendary Shore Club in Hubbard's for 3 nights under the stars.
If you're downtown, if you're downtown.
This year, he's bringing some other musical icons along for the ride, too. Joel Plaskett Emergency and Tara Lightfoot will join the band on stage for what Mays is calling one heck of a humdinger. This year's dates are August 20th through 22nd, and tickets, including VIP, go on sale noon Friday.
So tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So if you want tickets to this, they always sell out. And, of course, once again, $1 from every ticket supports the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia.
Okay. Big news for East Coast music fans. Like that wasn't big enough.
I know. Okay, so this is cool. The hosts have been revealed for the 2026 East Coast Music Awards. The ECMA's announced that iconic Cape Breton duo Bette McDonald and Maynard Morrison will take stage as hosts when the awards return to Sydney on May 21st. The pair are 2 of Atlantic Canada's most beloved performers, known for decades of comedy, storytelling, theatre, and community work. The ECMA's run in Sydney, May 20th to 24th next year.
Is that a return engagement for them? Did they do it before?
Not since I've been going, but I can totally see it because they're both awesome and would be so good at this. So I could see that if that would be the case.
Yeah, and they're just
magic.
magic.
My knowledge.
They're magic together on the stage.
They're awesome. I love their Cape Breton Christmas.
Yeah.
Something else you need tickets to, look that up.
Yeah. Spend all your money on tickets. A powerful night of music and unity happening this weekend in Halifax is very important.
Yes, this is a great event. It's all to support recovery efforts in Jamaica following Hurricane Melissa. The Standing Together for Jamaica benefit concert and silent auction takes place Saturday at the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21. The lineup features an incredible group of artists, including Jamila, Owen Lee, Aquaculture, Asia New Groove, and many, many more. All proceeds going toward relief initiatives. For details and tickets, you can just head to the Black Cultural Centre's website. We've put a link to it on our website. But great event happening this weekend. Definitely one to support if you can.
Yeah, good lineup. Okay, we're going to switch over to television now. A brand new Canadian series. This is getting all kinds of international buzz. It's being pushed hard on Crave.
Yes, it's about to premiere, and it all began with a Halifax author.
Jane Hollander, I wanted to introduce myself. Okay.
Heated Rivalry is based on the best-selling Game Changers book series by Halifax's own Rachel Reed. Her story of two rival hockey stars swept readers around the world, and now it's headed to screens across the globe after being picked up by HBO Max and other major platforms. Heated Rivalry premieres tomorrow on Crave. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. More TV.
Yeah.
You want to race across the country?
Yeah, well,
Here you
if
go.
you do, here's your chance. Casting is now officially open for Season 12 of CTV's Amazing Race Canada.
All right, everyone, good luck.
Producers are looking for dynamic duos ready for the adventure of a lifetime. Teammates with heart, humor, and that unbeatable bond. Whether you're family, friends, partners, or co-workers, if you're ready to test your relationship and push yourselves to the limit, they want to hear from you. Applications are now open, but only until December 15th. You can go to CTV's website to start your journey, but that looks like a lot of fun.
Let's do it. You and me.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Could we do it? Could we get along?
No. I don't know that we could. I do love you, but I'm not racing with you.
Here's some programming information for you. NFL football on CTV means our newscasts at 5 and 6 tomorrow night are punted to CTV2 just for Friday, okay? Tomorrow you'll find us on CTV2. We'll be right back. Well, the U.S. markets are closed today, of course, for American Thanksgiving. In Canada, commodity stocks did pretty well today, benefiting from new support from Ottawa. B&M Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more on that.
Key Canadian steel and lumber stocks did well today after the Prime Minister's announcement. Shares of steelmaker Algoma got a 4% bump. The boost comes a day after the Prime Minister announced added assistance for the steel industry. It's been dragged down by American duties. Ottawa will now tariff steel derivative products coming into the country and limit imports of steel. Interfor shares gained over 3%. It's a lumber products company. Ottawa has added more financial help for that sector as well. Puma shares on the rise today after a report China's Anta Sports may be looking to buy the brand. Puma has been struggling post-COVID, its stock recently dropping to its lowest point in 10 years. Puma hasn't responded to the report. Nova Scotia says it will sell off all remaining inventory of American alcohol. It pulled U.S. products off the shelves in March in response to American tariffs. The province says it wants to get rid of the $14 million of product it still has, and it won't buy any more. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar down slightly to 71.27. West Texas Intermediate crude is up to 59.10. Western Canadian Select is up to 45.96. And the TSX gained 16 points today, but enough for another record close at 31,196. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell is on the weather deck with one more look at things.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. It's a cool evening out here in the north end of Halifax. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight. And this is a beautiful shot coming in from Belleville, New Brunswick, sent in by Lori McClellan. I want to thank Lori very much for taking the time to share this picture with us. And it's a beautiful shot here of sort of the sun breaking through the cloud cover a little bit. As for the Belleville area for tomorrow, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day. And beginning in the afternoon and extending into the early evening, about a 40% chance of a few flurries moving through. High temperature near 3 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow in the region. We can expect morning temperatures to start a few degrees below to a few degrees above the freezing marks. A little bit chilly out there first thing in the morning. Partly cloudy conditions. And then in the afternoon, we'll be with that mix of sun and cloud and a scattered mixture of some showers and some flurries drifting through. Most of the high temperatures tomorrow in the Maritimes will be in the range of around 3 to 7 degrees. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Friday on Your Morning Atlantic, putting your best face forward.
Holiday Haul Week continues with a trip to a Medi Spa in New Brunswick, where the owner says looking good means feeling good.
Start your morning with us Friday on CTV2.
And coming up here at 6 o'clock tomorrow, dollars in deficit. The federal government has brought in an ambitious budget with a deep deficit. Canada's finance minister will join us in studio for a conversation. That's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And finally for us this evening, never mind the Macy's parade in New York. Detroit celebrates U.S. Thanksgiving with a parade tradition all its own. The Big Head Corps. Yes, the massive papier-mâché heads have been a part of the parade in that city since its founding in 1924. The latest edition, Michigan native, there he is, and legend of the Detroit Tigers, Kirk Gibson. The parade company boasts a collection of over 300 big heads, including the likes of Tom Selleck, Aretha Franklin, and Henry Ford. While over 300 big heads are in the collection, only about half participate in the parade annually. All right, the big heads. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here after CTV National News, and CTV Atlantic has our updates. I'm Todd Battis. I hope to see you right back tomorrow night here on CTV2. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.